Microchips are the lifeblood of modern technology, powering everything from smartphones and AI to military defense systems and self-driving cars. But what if I told you that control over these tiny pieces of silicon could determine the future of global power? Right now, the world's most advanced chips come from a single island, Taiwan, and this has sparked a high-stakes geopolitical battle between the US, China, and Europe. Countries are scrambling to secure their chip supply, investing billions in semiconductor factories, and even risking military conflict. Will the West maintain its dominance, or will China rise as the new tech superpower? This is the chip war, a hidden battle that could shape the world for decades to come. Microchips, also known as semiconductors, are the brain behind modern technology. These tiny circuits process and store data, enabling everything from smartphones and AI to cars and defense systems. Without them, the digital world would simply cease to function. The process of making a microchip starts with silicon, one of the most abundant elements on Earth. Extracted as quartz, it is melted at 1,400 degrees Celsius, then cooled and sliced into thin wafers. On these wafers, microscopic electronic circuits are etched using ultraviolet lithography, allowing billions of transistors to be packed into a space smaller than a fingernail. Microchips are in everything: your phone, laptop, gaming console, and smart appliances. They control cars, airplanes, and medical devices, power AI-driven software, and store data in cloud computing and data centers. In defense, advanced chips are vital for military satellites, missile guidance systems, and cybersecurity. The more advanced the microchip, the smaller, faster, and more efficient it is. And today, the world's most cutting-edge chips are not made in the US or Europe, but in Taiwan. This dependence on a single region has created one of the biggest geopolitical risks of the 21st century. Taiwan is the heart of the chip industry. It's the undisputed leader in semiconductor manufacturing, producing 90% of the world's most advanced chips. This tiny island, home to just 23 million people, plays a crucial role in the global economy. At the center of Taiwan's dominance is TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, founded by Morris Chang in 1987. Unlike Intel, which designs and manufactures its own chips, TSMC only produces chips for other companies, becoming the world's biggest chipmaker. Apple, Nvidia, AMD, and Qualcomm all rely on TSMC to manufacture their most advanced semiconductors. Taiwan's microchip dominance acts as a silicon shield, a powerful deterrent against a potential Chinese invasion. If China were to take control of Taiwan, it would control the global semiconductor supply, disrupting economies worldwide. The US and its allies would never allow this to happen without serious consequences. This is why Taiwan's semiconductor industry has turned into a geopolitical battleground. The US is rushing to rebuild its chip-making capacity, while China is trying to close the gap and become self-sufficient. But as of now, TSMC remains the crown jewel of the global semiconductor industry, holding the key to the world's technological future. For decades, the US and Europe were at the forefront of semiconductor technology. But in the 1980s to 2000s, companies offshored production to Taiwan, South Korea, and China to cut costs. This move, driven by globalization and lower labor expenses, left Western nations highly dependent on Asian manufacturers. Then came COVID-19, which exposed the vulnerabilities of this dependence. Factories shut down, shipping was disrupted, and demand for electronics skyrocketed as remote work and online communication became the norm. The result? A massive global chip shortage that crippled entire industries. The automotive sector was one of the hardest hit. Factories halted production as they ran out of essential chips. In 2021 alone, over $200 billion was lost due to supply chain disruptions. Even tech giants like Apple and Sony faced delays, causing a ripple effect across gaming, AI, and consumer electronics. Whoever controls semiconductor production doesn't just control technology, they control the global economy, national security, and the balance of power in the modern world. This crisis forced Western leaders to take action. For the first time in decades, the US and Europe realized that microchip independence is critical for national security. The race to bring chip manufacturing back home had begun, leading to historic investments in semiconductor infrastructure. The US response was rebuilding domestic chip manufacturing. In response to the chip shortage, the US government launched the CHIPS and Science Act, a $52 billion investment aimed at revitalizing America's semiconductor industry. Signed into law in 2022, the Act provides funding for domestic chip production, research, and workforce development. A major part of this effort is the construction of mega factories in Arizona and Ohio. TSMC is investing $40 billion in its Arizona plant, which will produce cutting-edge 5-nanometer and 3-nanometer chips, the same ones used in iPhones and AI processors. Meanwhile, Intel is building a $20 billion chip facility in Ohio, positioning itself as a key player in the next generation of semiconductor technology. This marks a major shift from globalization to national self-sufficiency. The US is determined to reduce its dependence on Taiwan and China, ensuring that future technological advancements remain under American control. But will it be enough to win the chip war? But China is still racing to catch up. Despite its economic power, China remains behind in semiconductor technology. While it manufactures 15% of the chips it consumes, it still relies on Taiwan, South Korea, and the US for advanced microprocessors. Even after investing billions into its semiconductor industry, China struggles with outdated technology and inefficiencies. Adding to its challenges, US sanctions have crippled China's top tech companies. Huawei, once a leader in 5G, lost access to critical chips, while SMIC, China's biggest semiconductor manufacturer, is blocked from acquiring cutting-edge chip-making equipment. In response, China has ramped up investments, aiming for self-sufficiency by 2025. It's pouring money into domestic chip production and developing its own semiconductor technology. However, without access to advanced chip-making tools from ASML or TSMC, China still lags behind. The risk of conflict. China considers Taiwan a breakaway province, but Taiwan's semiconductor dominance has made it a global strategic asset. If China takes control of Taiwan, it could monopolize the world's microchip supply, a nightmare scenario for the US and its allies. In August 2022, US Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, signaling strong American support. Her meeting with TSMC executives underscored Taiwan's global semiconductor importance. In response, China launched unprecedented military drills, effectively blockading the island to demonstrate its military strength. And thus, the US has pledged military support to Taiwan, with President Biden stating America would defend Taiwan if attacked. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping has vowed to reunify Taiwan by force, if necessary. With rising military tensions, the risk of a US-China conflict over Taiwan is growing. And at the heart of this dispute lies the most valuable asset of the 21st century: microchips. Europe's struggle to compete. Europe once played a key role in the semiconductor industry, but outsourcing and lack of investment have left it lagging behind the US and Asia. Today, Europe produces less than 10% of the world's chips and relies heavily on imports. However, one European company remains essential to the chip industry: ASML. This Dutch firm is the only manufacturer of extreme ultraviolet lithography machines, the technology needed to produce the world's most advanced chips. Without ASML, TSMC and Samsung couldn't make cutting-edge semiconductors. To regain its footing, the EU launched the European Chips Act, pledging 43 billion euros to boost domestic chip production. But with no leading European chip makers, the continent may still depend on US and Asian giants for its technological future. The future of the chip war. The global battle for semiconductor supremacy is far from over. Over the next decade, the race for chip manufacturing dominance will intensify as the United States, China, and Europe invest hundreds of billions of dollars into the industry. Countries are beginning to prioritize self-sufficiency in semiconductor production, moving away from decades of outsourcing. The US and its allies are working to reduce reliance on Taiwan and China, with new semiconductor plants being built in Arizona, Ohio, and Germany. However, it will take years for these facilities to reach the level of expertise and efficiency that Taiwan has achieved with TSMC. China, meanwhile, is determined to eliminate its dependence on Western semiconductors. With government-led initiatives and billions in funding, China aims to achieve self-sufficiency by 2025. However, American sanctions restricting access to advanced chip-making equipment from ASML and TSMC present a significant challenge. Without cutting-edge technology, China may struggle to close the gap with its global competitors. Yet, with massive investments in AI and chip research, China is determined to develop its own semiconductor ecosystem and establish itself as a leader in the industry. The future of chip manufacturing will also be shaped by emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced 3D chip architectures. The country that takes the lead in these areas will hold a significant advantage in the global tech economy. Just as oil defined geopolitics in the 20th century, microchips will dictate world power in the 21st. Nations are beginning to shift away from globalization in favor of regionalized semiconductor production, ensuring that their technological future is not dependent on foreign suppliers. Microchips aren't just tiny pieces of silicon. They are the foundation of the digital age and the key to global power. The battle for semiconductor dominance is more than a technological rivalry. It is a geopolitical conflict that could reshape the world. What do you think? Will China catch up, or will the US and its allies maintain their lead? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the chip war, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful content on technology and geopolitics. See you in the next video.